Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Canada Unpacked, where we unpack real immigration stories and share tips and insights to help you guys along on your immigration journey. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara, and I'm joined by my co host, Deandra. How are you, Deandra?
I'm great. We're recording on a Saturday, which is good and bad, but it's gloomy outside. So I'm happy to be inside recording a new episode for everyone that's listening, and I'm excited for this one especially because you see I'm wearing red. We love love.
I just put on a hoodie today. I thought nothing about the theme. You're so clever. Yes,
I
today's
try.
theme is love. We have a submission I'm going to read out to you. It is a spousal sponsorship story. And there's just so many themes in here that I see repeated through like so many of my clients.
Yeah.
So I'll read out the submission. It was sent in by Rebecca. Hi, Canada Unpacked. I came to British Columbia in 2019 on a student visa. I was juggling school, part time work, and the pressure of figuring out my future. I wasn't expecting to meet someone, but we matched online, as we all do, started talking, and eventually it turned into something real. We got through the early stages of our relationship during the pandemic. That time made us really close. We leaned on each other through job losses, mental health struggles, and family challenges. Eventually, I moved into his apartment in Burnaby, and it just felt right. When we started looking into inland spousal sponsorship, everything got overwhelming fast. My partner was still legally married. The divorce was dragging on, it was taking years, and we weren't sure if our common law relationship even qualified. We kept asking ourselves, what kind of proof does IRCC actually want? Would screenshots of texts be taken seriously? Was it a problem we didn't have joint finances yet? We were afraid of getting it wrong. Eventually, we decided to have an immigration consultant review our application before we submitted. We got approved.
Woo!
Yee! Now we're both here together, building our life with permanent residency in hand and a whole lot of gratitude. So that is a long journey, right? In 2019 to come in
Yeah.
as a student,
Yeah.
um, you're feeling things out, getting used to the curriculum, maybe getting a part-time job, and meeting new people. Because you obviously
Yeah.
move to a new country, you want to meet new people.
Yeah.
So, a few things I want to like touch on through this story. Firstly is yeah, most of my clients meet online, and I forget I like read this stat, and I forget where I read it. If I remember, I'll put it in the caption, or I'll do some research. And it was basically finding how people meet for romantic relationships, and it was getting data from like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and moving forward, and then
Yeah.
into the future, what they like project.
Yeah.
And it was pretty scary. It was like primarily people met in person back in the
Yeah.
day, like 20, 30 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah. 100%.
And then 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be primarily online. It was something like 90% of relationships will have started
Yeah.
online.
I believe that though. I believe that stat. Like more and more people are like we're thinking about the trends now, right? Like people are working remotely. Um like there's so much to unpack with that. Like there's been so many changes with how dating works, and more people are just too busy to like do the in-person thing, and so they're
Yeah.
defaulting to like online platforms to find their partner, or it's just too hard to meet someone in person. Like,
Yeah.
that saying you have to kiss a bunch of frogs to find your prince.
Or
I know a
scary.
lot of it.
You're
Or
like, God,
scary, yeah,
I don't want to meet a
yeah.
stranger in a restaurant and have to eat in front of them.
I'm still a
Nightmare.
pretty old-fashioned type of gal. I would rather meet someone in person. Like I watch too much true crime, eh? So
Right?
it's like
Yeah.
online dating is a bit scary for me, but I mean, I've met couples, I've like had clients who are couples that met online and have great relationships. So I think to each his own, right? But it's nice that there's so many people that are finding love through online dating.
Yes. And I guess there's still like a vetting process eventually, right? You do eventually meet in person,
Yeah.
and like there just needs to be like a bit of chemistry there, like that you
Hmm.
feel comfortable and safe. And there's like, there's things about pheromones and smells. Like you gotta like smell the other person. Not in an obvious way. Like don't be sniffing other
I'd be
humans.
like,
Let me just get a whiff. See if my body reacts.
red flag number one, they come and sniff you like a pup.
Yeah, like first I'm gonna smell you, and
Right?
then we'll think about a date.
Right. Let's just take this one step at a time.
Yeah, just one sense at a time. Smell. But yeah, it's definitely super popular. I would say that and meeting someone at work too is really
Yes.
common with my couples,
Yeah.
like specifically for spousal sponsorship, because they'll come on the student visa, the work visa,
That's right.
work a couple jobs, get some experience, and then of course you meet your coworkers, you spend 8 hours a day with them, and
Spend most of your day with them. Yeah. I
things
think
click.
people forget that, right? Like we're working most of the day. So, and honestly, even with remote work, I find it's more than that. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
even with remote work, it's possible to meet your spouse through that, right?
Yeah. 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 So yeah, definite theme of meeting someone online.
Yeah.
Um, I want to touch on the common law question because I get that a lot in my DMs, and I have helped couples through it as well. So it is possible to enter a common law relationship while not having your divorce finalized.
That's right.
You do need to be legally separated from your previous partner, but divorce can take years for a variety of different reasons. So the government does recognize that, and if you do meet someone, you do move together and you live together for 1 year. Again, after you were legally separated, so that
Yeah.
period does have to pass. And then you start your 1 year of, we call it cohabitation, like
Cohabitation.
the least sexy word ever.
The
Did you
least sexy word.
cohabitate? You need to cohabitate.
Have you
Okay,
cohabitated?
have cohabitated for 1 year,
Yes.
continuously,
What is the
consecutively.
date? I love how they ask you what the date of like the date when you started cohabitating is. Because
Yeah.
it's like, do I mean, unless it's something formal where you got a new place together, like how do you kind of pinpoint, oh, we started cohabitating officially on this day of this year? It makes you break down your relationship into very like black and white terms, like very formal
Yes,
when, you know, love isn't a business transaction, right? So, but IRCC needs it to be like black and white. So,
it needs to be official.
yeah,
Official, yeah. Because a lot of
exactly.
couples too, like they'll be like, there'll be the official move-in date together, or maybe they started pulling their, utilities and things like that together, or we're officially on the lease or something. But when we have a conversation, they'll say like, I haven't not, you know, shared a bed with this person though for months. Like they're either at my place or I'm at their place.
Their
Like
place.
it feels like we're together all the time.
Yeah,
But really, the common law definition states you become common law when you can prove the 1 year.
right.
So you need to have that documentation as
Yeah.
well.
Proof is really important in spousal sponsorship cases, right? Like
Hmm.
evidence is the burden of proof is really high. The evidence has to be very, very compelling and it can't be vague. I think that's something that's really, really important. People kind of I think a lot of folks underestimate how much detail IRCC wants when it comes to a spousal sponsorship, but it's really important to emphasize that like it needs to be detailed, it needs to be documented. Like there has to be some kind of paper documentation that you can prove that this is happening and back up everything that you're saying.
Yeah, and it's a good tip for people who are maybe starting to collect now. Maybe they haven't hit their 1 year milestone yet, but that is their plan, their pathway
Yeah.
they've chosen, is to start now. Like every time you get something, it has your name and your address. Like keep
Hmm.
it, scan it, put it in a folder, keep it.
Absolutely.
And then, there's a good question on the joint finances. So it's like, well, we don't have joint finances or we don't have a joint bank account. And I find with my couples, it's once we start chatting about it, we discover more than they thought.
Yeah.
The first tip I always give is, okay, every month we all have bills to pay. Sit down once a month, write down all the bills you pay, call them up, email them, online chat, right? There's so many ways to contact a
So
company
many ways.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and ask them if you can add a secondary user. So
Yes.
it's not always like adding a spouse, like with insurance or something, right? Sometimes they let you add
Yeah.
a spouse, your spouse can get the insurance benefits.
Right.
Sometimes it's not, a matter of official marital status. It can just be a
Mm-hmm.
secondary user on a utility account, on a phone bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look for like family plans and things like that.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
really pull more than you think by just
Yeah.
having like once a month sit down and going, what do I pay for?
Yeah. Yeah.
And would they let me add another name on the bill?
Yeah. I think another I think this area is where you get to really be creative as a consultant with helping your clients figure out like, okay, we don't officially have my name on the lease or anything like that, but one of the ones that I recommended to one of my couples was to they met each other at work and the group insurance you can add a common law partner or a spouse and they had put each other on their group plans. Like one had
Hmm.
actually left the job after a while, but they put the other person on the group plan as a partner, and that was a great way to prove like, hey, we like I'm on the insurance plan, we're like connected through that. So got it, like it's a great area to get creative with, especially if you don't have clear documentation like the name on a lease, the bank account with two names, all that stuff. So just to add to what you were saying, adding that second user on a cell phone plan or something, but group insurance with your work, it's a great one.
Yeah, it shows that you've kind of gone through the effort of changing your marital status officially in that capacity. And so
Yeah.
insurance is like the big one.
Yeah.
Any like health records or health
Hmm.
documents as well. Like, I
That's
often
right.
ask for marital status if you could
Hmm.
update it there. Of course, you do need to be officially common law if that's your
Yes.
route you're going. So just be
Yeah.
mindful of the timeline there.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. When you like sit and think about all the things we pay for,
Oh yeah.
like more than you think, you might also like adjust your finances when you do that. Like, oh my God, do we
Yeah.
need this
Yeah.
millionth subscription to
Yeah.
random junk we don't use?
Hmm. Great
No.
budgeting exercise too.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about your couple budget. I think too, like a lot of times, sometimes one person might not have status to work or work a lot, such
Yeah.
as the student example.
Yeah.
They can work part-time, but also they've got all their student fees and tuition. So, if you're not jointly, if one person is paying primarily for items, or perhaps even transferring funds to their spouse to support
Yeah.
them during a time where they can't work, they're sick, they're injured,
Yeah.
they have visitor status for any reason.
Yeah.
Those transfers are also so important.
Hmm.
So, like, don't discount that. That is also proof of just like financial support. Even if it's a
Right.
one-way street, maybe
Yeah.
at this moment you can't pay for everything equally. You don't have to. Like, that's not a legal requirement for
Yeah.
legal spouses.
Yeah.
It can, just showing that you do have some sort of back and forth, or just one way. Like sometimes it's
Yeah.
just one way. Like there's a breadwinner, there's a
Yeah.
homemaker, and they're transferring once a month.
That's
So
right.
keep those screenshots, keep that evidence of those transfers, and then also explain it too. I
Yes.
think people get
No.
stuck with the screenshots, and it's just like a page of screenshots. It's like, okay, on the other
Like, what
side of
does
this
this
is
mean?
it's a human who's like, what is this?
Right. Thank you for
What?
sending all your bank transfers. What are these for?
Yeah, who are you? Who did you? So explaining like, oh, well, this is my bank. Once a month, I send whatever it is, X amount to my partner
Yeah.
because they're currently studying. So I'm supporting them throughout their study period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And plan for the future too. Like, well, what's going to shift after they graduate? When they graduate, They're hoping to, get this kind of career. This is like the type of salary they're anticipating. And then we'll
Yeah.
shift to sharing our finances
At
together
that
at
point.
some point.
Yeah.
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 And I think like it's so easy for us to put those little notes in too, right? Like we know with Canadian banks, if you do an e-transfer, there's a little section to put a note. So if you're, I think back to the point of making sure that you're planning ahead. So you're not
Mhm.
at your 1 year of cohabitation yet, but you know that the sponsorship is going to be the plan. So plan for that. When you're doing those e-transfers, make sure you put the note in. Like put a note sending you money for lunch today, babe, or well, something. Just put a
Mhm.
little note in there because it makes your life easier after the fact, right? Because
Yeah.
when you got like 2 pages of e-transfers, like how do you remember what you did like 6 months ago, right? How do you
Yeah.
remember what you were sending money for 6 months ago? So make sure you kind of have that in your head as you're doing those things like, hey, this will be good evidence for our sponsorship application. Let me
Mhm.
put a note in here so I can make sure we have a description of all these transfers.
Yeah. 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 Such a good point. It just makes your own life easier later
Hmm.
on. And it's going to
Yeah.
make the application stronger because the onus is on you to prove
Yeah.
it with the documents you have.
Oh yeah.
On the topic of screenshots, so the question of is screenshots of text, like, is that good enough? Do they like that? What does that do?
Yeah.
I like that. For the long distance couples, it's definitely mandatory to show the communication. But
Yeah.
even for like this kind of couple who they started online, I think in this situation would be cute to show the progression, or
Yeah.
to show like maybe just a few cute ones from the very beginning. Again, it's just
Yeah.
that emotional impact of the story and
Yeah.
verifying the timeline as well, especially if they're
Yes.
date stamped.
Yeah.
It's really cute. So I think it would like add to the story when, of course, if you're currently living together, it's less so important to show ongoing communication because you see each other most every
Every
day.
day. Yeah.
For those long distance couples, what they're really looking for are big conversations, important conversations.
Hmm.
So, 10 pages of good morning, I love you is going to be like, okay, thank you. Thank you for your submission. But if you had conversations where you're, I don't know, discussing plans to meet, like maybe your next trip together,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Meeting families.
meeting family, like, hey, this is a big weekend. You're going to meet my mom. I'm so excited,
Right.
or I'm so nervous, or whatever it is. Conversations about like finances, children, future,
Hmm.
where you're going to live,
Yeah.
careers, those big life conversations.
Yeah.
It's a little tough because some people don't have them by text.
Yeah.
But if you're
Exactly.
alluding to them, like, hey, I would love to FaceTime this weekend and chat about, I found a few rental properties in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Let's chat and see if any of them look good for us for, when I get my PR or whatever it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
So alluding to it as well, and then noting maybe a screenshot of the FaceTime record or the WhatsApp phone conversation
Yeah.
to show you did have many conversations verbally as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably what trips up a lot of people, right? Because you're FaceTiming with your girlfriend or boyfriend that's long distance and you're not thinking, "Oh, let me take a screenshot because IRCC will need this." Least
Right.
sexy thing possible, right?
Yeah.
But it really boils down to planning, right? It boils down to knowing that we're doing this, so I need to make sure that at least once in a while I'm taking screenshots, I'm doing all of these things to like provide documentation when it's time to get the application done. So I think
Hmm.
it goes back to what we always talk about. We always talk about strategy being the
Hmm.
biggest thing with any type of immigration application, especially in this kind of climate. And I think especially with spousal sponsorship, because there's so much documentation and evidence that's needed, you have to really be following your strategy, right?
Yes, yeah, and I told a couple recently actually. It's a go-to advice for me is there's actually no such thing as too much when it comes to
Hmm.
spousal sponsorship specifically.
Oh yeah,
So
agreed.
there are some immigration applications where, yeah, the officer might get annoyed if you go like really out of the box with like random junk they don't need, because there are other ones that are a little bit more cookie cutter in they're like, give me these 10 documents,
Yeah.
and if I evaluate them and I approve you, you're approved, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to like go above and beyond unless there's something unusual with your application. Like they're a little more cookie cutter. Versus relationships, because every relationship is
It's
unique,
different.
your
Yeah.
documentation is going to be unique, and go big or go home, get creative. I've seen people take a picture of like an Amazon package that was delivered to the home
Yeah.
as proof, additional proof that they live there.
Yeah.
Screenshot of your Netflix that has like the
Yeah.
family in it.
This
You
is
each
true
have your little
profile. Yeah.
icon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many things. Screenshots of social media, letters from friends and family. Don't get one
Yeah.
or two. Get
Yeah.
many, and quality over quantity, but try to get like several, several,
Trying to
several.
get
Like,
several, yeah.
yeah,
Even like I've seen like people doing screenshots of like group chats in WhatsApp where showing like, hey, my partner is in the group chat with my family, right? Like those
yes,
family ties, they mean a lot, right? It
yeah,
means the family knows about you because that's another criteria that people downplay too, right? Like who knows about your relationship? And so screenshots of group chats where you're participating in family talks and all that stuff, planning events with the family and all that is it's also important.
yeah,
It really is an area you can get creative in to prove your relationship is genuine.
yes, yeah, yeah. Getting those creative juices flowing is
Hmm.
one of my school teachers used to say before we do like creative writing. But it's not a cookie cutter application. And if you do
No.
go cookie cutter and you go by just the minimum checklist,
Hmm.
there's a high likelihood you're going to get pushback, high
Hmm.
likelihood you're going to get requests for more documentation or information anyways.
Yeah.
And interviews. We're seeing interviews jump up again with Spousal. They used to be like
Yeah.
very
Very
minimal.
rare. Yeah.
And this year, IRCC is anticipating there will be an increase of marriage of convenience. So they are being, more intense with the
Scrutinizing. Yeah.
assessment. Yeah, more
Yeah.
high scrutinized.
Yeah.
So we know, well, if you want to try to get a faster decision, avoid those requests, and potentially also avoid the interview, which is a stressful
Hmm.
situation, and it just adds time to the processing, really. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah.
can do an interview, but if you don't have to, you're going to skip
Yeah. Yeah. It's
weeks.
stressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, go big or go home. Because once it's in, you can relax. You can kick
Yeah.
back,
You can
relax.
chill.
You did the work, it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know you've done like 120%, right?
Yeah.
So you can just rest easy knowing like I provided every possible thing I could think of. There's no reason to question this relationship is genuine.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. I had chatted with someone recently and they were like, this really is a genuine relationship, but it feels like they're making us feel like it's not because of
Yeah.
like just the crazy level of
The amount of
information and
Yeah.
documents. They're like, this is like real, but we're
Yeah.
almost like questioning ourselves, like, oh my God, are we real? Are we real? What is happening? There's
Yeah.
just such scrutiny.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot, and it's becoming more and more enhanced. Like we know that, they're putting more funds behind, checking and making sure things are legit and enforcement. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to follow that strategy, and more is more is better with spousal sponsorship
With,
application.
yeah,
Yeah.
specifically spousal sponsorship.
Specifically with sponsorship, spousal sponsorship, it's more is better.
Yeah.
Like, do not
Yeah.
try to cut down the documentation. Do everything you can to prove, like, this is a legit relationship. We did not do this just to get status.
Yes, yes. Another element of it is that it wasn't entered into for the purpose of status. So,
Yeah.
which can kind of be a bit of a mind bend sometimes,
Yeah.
because sometimes, the person's status is expiring. So you're maybe hustling a little more than you would be if you didn't have that status deadline. But it's
Yeah.
more so like, would you have tried to do things to make it work, no matter what? Maybe
Yeah.
left the country or gone long distance if you had to for a period or something
Yeah.
like that. So one way to reframe it of like, would you have done this even if it didn't benefit you with permanent residency?
Yeah, exactly. That was a really good story. I
I
love that one.
know. I
Yeah.
liked it. I think those were all the points I wanted to mention. Yes, we have, screenshots, communication, making it important, those big conversations, and the timeline as well, a variety of timeline.
Yeah.
There's more than one way to prove joint finances. It's not just a joint bank account, although that is one option too. And
Yeah.
often it's just going to the bank and opening it up, but showing the transfers back and forth as support and explaining how that you support one another.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can become common law if one person is still not officially divorced. You cannot marry, so Canada doesn't recognize marrying multiple people. You can only be married to one person at a time, which isn't the
Yeah.
case in all countries and all cultures. So Canada won't
True.
recognize that, but you can enter common law. So it's a little contradictory, but there
Yeah.
you go. You can do
Yeah.
that.
There's a small gray area here.
Yeah. Well, it's like, wait.
Small.
I think
Small.
they recognize divorce takes a long time.
Yeah, it does, especially when there's, like there might be children to think about, there might be like financial ties that need to unbind, and that takes a long time. So recognizing that divorce can be long and drawn out, and in that time you could meet a new partner and want to sponsor them to like stay in Canada or come to Canada. So it's good that there is that small gray area, but please remember that you have to prove that you're actually legally separated.
Yes, yeah, legal separation documents, which, if you're going through a divorce, almost everyone has a legal representative. They can draw
Yeah,
something up for you to include.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was a great
Yeah,
one.
that was a good story. I love a love story.
I love a good love story, and I'm so happy that Rebecca and her partner are together here in Canada now. So, and that was our very first listener submission. I didn't think we'd get one so fast, but that was awesome. That was a great one too to like dig into.
Yeah, yeah, it's so common. So many themes we see across many spousal sponsorships,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, it's a good one. So if anyone else has a story, you can always email us in canadaunpackedpod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
Tiandra, any last words?
Just that I am enjoying like doing this podcast so much so far and like enjoying just digging into these things. I can see both of our like passion for the topics coming through. So I hope you guys are seeing it too and hearing it if you're just listening to audio. And we really appreciate you for tuning in and listening to us. And we hope we get some more stories soon, some really great stories to share with you.
Yeah, can't wait till the next one. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening, and we'll see you next
Thank you.
time.
See you next time.